I want to be late on that.
Okay. I started transcription.
Let me know when you're all set.
I'm all set. We are recording.
Okay, it is 12:02. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Vermont Community Broadband Board of January 9th. Roll call in terms of board members. We have all board members present, except for Holly. We have Brian Otley, Dan Nelson, Laura Sibilia, myself. Holly is expected, so we'll look for her soon. Staff, we have Christine, we have Rob, we Stan. Christine, do you want to go through the rest of the staff that are present? I can't see.
Oh,
them.
sure. Yeah. We got Adam Bornstein. We got Adam, Tracy Collier, Heron Herzog, Stan Mason, Rob, myself, and Lucy should be joining us. I don't know. I didn't see her. Lucy will be joining us. Okay, great.
Okay, excellent. So staff is present. First item up on our agenda is approval of the agenda. I'm going to make a motion to approve the agenda and open it up for a second.
Second.
Thank you. For discussion, Holly has asked that we put on the agenda, and I'm going to make a suggestion, we put it under staff updates at 3:30 for affordability discussion.
And I'm here, but I can't.
she is here.
I am here, but I can't seem to turn on my camera. I don't know why. So pardon me.
No worries. Okay. So Holly, I just made the recommendation that we're going to put affordability under staff updates at 3:30.
I just heard that, and thank you.
Okay. Laura, do you have your hand up?
Yep, just checking in on the agenda item for legislative requests. I believe those are VCUDA's legislative requests. I just want to make sure we have permission to discuss those, the request to discuss those in open session.
Can I?
Yeah, we are not presenting for VCUDA. We're presenting, so that VCUDA will need to do that on their own. But if your board wants to put VCUDA in there.
So are these just, I'm sorry, excuse me, Christine, are these VCUDA's legislative requests or VCBB legislative requests? What are these?
They're VCBB legislative requests.
That came through with VCUDA?
I believe there's only one request in there, isn't there?
I don't know.
But
yeah,
you know,
the only thing the board has authorized us to really make a request on is the $30 million match in the Broadband Adjustment Act. So we haven't put anything else on the agenda, but VCUDA is working on VCUDA will present their agenda to the board.
Okay, so thank you, Christine. That's helpful. I was confused about what this item was. Okay. And so this is the $30 million.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome.
Is that the document that we just received from Rob Fish? I'm a little confused.
No, this is for the middle mile program. We've been talking about this all along.
There was some document that just came through.
Oh, we'll talk about that. That's the legislative update. We'll talk about that. That's on the agenda.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, any more of the discussion on the agenda? All right, hearing none, let's move the agenda forward. All those in favor of the agenda with the revision of affordability under staff updates, please say aye.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Laura?
Just a question. So the documents that we just received, are we talking about those on the agenda?
Yes, we are.
So just know, Christine, that most of us probably have not had time to review those.
Yeah, they're not due. They're due. This is the report that's due the 15th. We just, we put together a presentation for the board as to what's in the packet. We're going to present to you what's in the packet, and then you, as board members, following the meeting, can read through the packet and provide our feedback.
So Patty.
Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, this is problematic because this is going to have to be. This is due the 15th, so we will not be meeting again. And we've literally just received it. So that's not really an opportunity for us to provide any kind of feedback.
Well, yeah, you could give feedback to me and we'll incorporate it. I mean, we understand finishing this legislative report with the Christmas holidays is a challenge. So we didn't, you can't, it's almost an impossible task. We could ask the legislature to delay it a month as well. But the point is, you can provide us feedback.
Christine,
Let's have a discussion if we can at the
Okay,
time of
great.
this agenda
Thank
item.
you.
Yeah, so we're giving you a presentation.
Okay.
So here's what's working. Rather than, we're not going to read the whole presentation to you in the meeting. We're giving you a presentation of what's in the content. Our whole plan was to present to the board what's in the packet. We have a final draft available for you to read and give us specific feedback about language. The only feedback we should really be getting after this meeting should be on the language itself, not the content, because we're going to do a presentation.
All right, but let's hold discussion, Christine, until we get to that agenda item. I don't want to.
So I might have misread the board.
I don't want to open up this agenda item right now. Let's take it up when we get there. All right, so all those in favor of the agenda with one change of affordability added to staff updates, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes carry. To approve the December 12th meeting minutes provided in our packet. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on meeting minutes? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
I
All right, meeting
abstain.
minutes. Holly abstained?
Yes.
Okay, Holly abstained. Just note that for the record. Thank you. Okay, now we are on to item 3, congressional delegation. Christine, do you want to tee us up?
Yes, this was a request from the board that we bring the delegation in to meet with the board. This is your chance to ask them questions. We'll have the board members. I see Jeff Van Oud is here from Welch's office. I'm trying to see who else is here. Michelle Monroe from Welch's office, Katrina Menard from Sanders' office. Erhard, I can't get your last name.
Yeah,
So,
it's Monken, no worries.
Mike. So, maybe we'll just, it looks like we've got Welch and Sanders' office here. Why don't we give them an opportunity to talk about what's key on their agenda related to broadband, and then board members can ask questions.
I
Yeah, and I'll
apologize,
just-
but Patty, I apologize, but I've got duplicate apps open here for some reason. I'm going to go away and come back. I apologize.
Okay, no worries. I'll just start out and thank all the delegates from our federal friends coming to the meeting today. The Vermont Community Broadband Board has been working since August of 2021. It's been fast and furious. We hit the ground running literally, and we're trying to do our best. At the same time, it's challenging, and we're trying to make sure we have accountability while at the same time not delaying things to the CUDs and making sure we get funds in their hands so that they can deploy and actually roll out fiber implementation for the state. So we're treading lightly, trying to reach forward and move the ball as quickly as possible, but while doing it with accountability. And obviously, the more funds we get, the better, because that just helps us, obviously the almighty dollar is moving this project forward. So anything that you can share in terms of additional funding, concerns that you have, things that you'd like us to do, we're all ears. So I'll just open it with that. And Christine, I'll let you tee up who's going to go first.
Yeah, why don't we hear from Welch's office first? And
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Patty. By way of introduction, my name is Jeff Van Oot. I'm covering telecom broadband issues for Senator Welch in DC. I previously have worked with a number of you when I was in the similar role for Senator Leahy for years. Regarding update from the delegation, I know I would say that we continue to remain concerned and remain on top of the FCC and NTIA regarding the mapping issues and concerns have been brought forth by you all in the state. We sent that letter to the we sent out that delegation letter at the end of last month. And as a reminder, the ask of that letter were to extend the window for individuals to verify extend the challenge window by a minimum of 30 days, hopefully up to 60, and then also expedite the release of the all-state minimum funds included within the infrastructure bill because those funds should not be impacted by the mapping issues. We have yet to receive a response from the FCC, but once we do, we will relay whatever messages we hear from them to you all. Also, at the end of last Congress, I can share this letter with the group too. I can't speak for Sanders' office. I'm not sure if they're on it. Senator Leahy, when he was in office, did not get on it at the time just because of bandwidth, but there was a letter signed by 26 senators led by Senators Rosen and Capito to FCC regarding the mapping issues and expressing similar concerns and saying that they should work with stakeholders to make sure all serviceable locations are represented, make sure providers are held accountable, and just to make sure that the performance data is actually accurate when in regards to serviceable locations. And a lot of these members of the 26 members who signed on to the letter are on the Commerce, Transportation, and Science Committee. So I'll also be following up with them to see if they've heard anything or if Commerce Committee plans on holding any hearings regarding the mapping issue in the upcoming months. The Senate has yet to put forth an organizing resolution, so we're still working out what committees Senator Welch will be on, but I will keep everyone updated regarding that. And that is all from me at the moment. Michelle is working on municipal issues in the state, so I'll pass it off to her before we hand it over to Earhart and Katrina.
Thank you, Jeff. I too am coming from Senator Leahy's office, but was not previously working on broadband. So I defer to Jeff on this as I am just jumping in now. So I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you and getting to work with all of you. I have passing familiarity with the issue, but not the depth of knowledge that Jeff brings. So I'm really looking forward to learning more, and please don't hesitate to reach out to me because I'll be happy to help with it in any way we can in the Welsh office. Thanks.
I guess I'll go next. By way of introduction, my name is Earhart Manka. I've been serving in the Sanders office for just under 2 years. My primary and I serve from the Vermont office. I'm an outreach representative here in Vermont. My primary roles, policy areas are housing, veterans issues, transportation. I'm very new to telecommunications, and like Michelle, here to learn, here to listen. We're appreciate Jeff's update. We were on that letter as well, the one that he referenced to the FCC and the NTIA. We're happy to join that. As I think you all probably know, our boss is also very concerned about making sure that Vermonters are well served with broadband, especially our lower income and traditionally marginalized communities. Personally, having worked in housing for many years, I know there's a special need among our manufactured housing communities, and was experiencing, especially during COVID, that many of the federal benefits and resources that were made available to them were not accessible because of a lot of the applications that needed to be filed were electronic, and people, especially in manufactured housing communities and especially low-income Vermonters and renters in affordable housing were often unable to access those. So I know that's one of our boss's concerns, and I'm available anytime working here in Vermont. Look forward to working with you folks and learning more. Maybe I should also say, before joining the Sanders team, I worked in affordable housing, so may have run across a few of you over at the State House. I used to work at the State House as an affordable housing advocate, Representative Sibilia. Remember you well, and enjoyed working with you there. So I'll pass it off to Katrina.
Hey all, I'm Katrina Menard. I started with Senator Sanders in 2016. I cover housing, transportation, as well as telecom, but I didn't start covering telecom until 4 days ago. So I am still very much getting up to speed, and we'll put my email in the chat in case anyone wants to get in touch. Would love to hear from people who have, a solid background in broadband and telecom in Vermont, and yeah, looking forward to listening and learning as well.
Yep, and we have Thomas Renner here from Becca Balance Office, or Senator Balance Office, I should say.
Hello, everybody. She was sworn in the other day, so you are correct. She is now Congresswoman Ballant.
Congresswoman, sorry. Thank you.
No worries at all. It was a lot of days of some mayhem, which we're still kind of experiencing. We currently don't have internet in the office. I'm using a hotspot and waiting for our emails to come in from the House. So a little disjointed over here, but I definitely wanted to make sure I could jump onto this, introduce myself to you all. Wasn't realizing I'd see so many familiar faces. However, I'm a Leahy alum as well, so I guess that makes sense. But yeah, thank you for this. And these issues are definitely something that the Congresswoman is concerned with. She spoke about it, when she was pro tem in the legislature, as well as during her campaign. So I'm really, really looking forward to being a part of this board and getting to know you all more. So thank you.
And if I may, I think one of the things that I was hoping, and Katrina and I were hoping to get, was just concerns from you all, and any issues other than the one that has already been discussed around the FCC and the NTIA and the timeline on the mapping. Anything other than that you want to bring to us during this meeting and flag for us as something that you'd like to see our offices work on. Please don't be bashful. And Jeff obviously has from his Leahy background a lot of background on this, and we're expecting that, much the way the three the congressional offices previously worked closely together. We're fully expecting that to continue under the new configuration. And feel free to, I would say, contact all of us at once instead of individually, because that certainly helps us, so that we're not going back and forth with each other. Oh, did you get this email, or did you receive this concern? Feel free to just group email us. We don't mind group emails. They really kind of help with us with our coordination among the offices. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Earhart. Thank you for bringing that up. If you could send all of your emails to who our point contact is for each of our federal delegates, that would be awesome.
Sure.
Especially knowing my daughter Caitlin used to work for Peter Welch, and her friends Seamus Nolan also for Leahy's office, and understanding who to reach out is just really helpful. So if you guys can send us that direct contact list, that just makes life easier.
Sure. And each of us, I don't know how Congresswoman Ballant's office is going to be set up yet, but, basically each of us has had one, rep in state, and for the Sanders team, that's me, and one, doing more of the policy work in the DC office, and relations with, other congressional offices and federal agencies. But yeah, I'm for the Sanders team, I'm your rep in state. And feel free to ping me anytime.
Okay. Christine, can I put that on your hit list to get all those emails into one batch, so that just makes it super simple for us?
Yep, no problem.
Great. All right, I'm gonna questions of our board. I'm gonna start with Laura and then go to Holly.
Great, thank you. Thank you all for coming today. Really excited to see you all. A lot of new faces, except Jeff. Um, so I am extremely eager and looking forward to talk to all of you and work with all of you on this. I would just note, Thomas, are you going to be the person in Congresswoman Balint's office?
Yes, I will be.
Fantastic. I mean, and she was actually such a big supporter and strong supporter of both Act 79 and Act 71 in the House. So it's great. And then Earhart and Katrina, just historically, Senator Sanders' office has been a real champion around the accountability issue that we have seen for a number of past large federal funded programs that did not go as expected, and have been really helpful in that regard in terms of helping us think about accountability and universality, which in the legislature really were the two key aspects of the legislation that we drove forward. And then Michelle, our CUDs are municipalities. They are unique. They are amazing. We will be welcoming them in the legislature, I believe, for a CUD day. I think they're on, and Christine may know what the day is. I don't know what the day is, but it would be great if you're in state. That would be great for you to come and meet with them as municipal. And then Jeff, my question is actually for you, and probably will not surprise you at all, but I'm really interested in when we're going to see the 5th member of the FCC seated. And if you can just talk a little bit about what the holdup has been there and what the odds are. I'm sure they're slim now, slimmer, but what's the holdup been with this?
The holdup with the FCC, there was a big pushback of the president's nomination from industry stakeholders in DC for a while that was blocking it. We will see. I haven't heard any updates since the last time the nomination went through committee. So that was probably over almost a year ago, if not farther. I'm sorry, it's been 2022 is a long year. But the hope is that Biden continues to push forward and makes a reinvigorated approach to filling the FCC board, but they haven't made any indication on that front one way or the other if we have to come in Congress. But if that's something you'd like us to continue to push forward from and voice messages, voice concerns and advocate for from the delegation perspective, I would be happy to talk more after this meeting or find another time to talk, because I do agree it's important that we fill that board, and especially now with the way with the composition of the Senate, especially how we'll have an actual majority on committees that could be helpful and have less blockades.
So I don't like to mince words, so let me just say that, I think that the unregulated telecom industry is one of the greatest threats that we have to the United States democracy out there. And the continued failure to fully seat the FCC should be being dealt with much more urgently. And I welcome additional conversations with each of your offices about what are the most effective means of outreach and encouragement to make that happen. And again, I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your service. And I look forward to working with you. Thank you, Patty.
Absolutely. I look forward to working with you. And then, hopefully we'll be, as I said, we're still figuring out committees, but should we be on a committee of jurisdiction, it'll be an issue that we'll be advocating for.
And if I could jump in for one quick second, I should have mentioned one of my issue areas also is municipalities. So probably we'll look forward to that day as well, and have started to meet with some of the CUD executive directors.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, Holly is up next.
I just want to be sure, Jeff, you had your hand up. Is it down?
I wanted to add additional legislative forecast, but I'll let you go first.
Oh, thanks. Well, Hello, I too am glad to meet you. My name is Holly Groschner. I have 30 years experience as a telecom lawyer, much of that at Downs Racklin, but also as general counsel for in the wireless industry. And I urge all of you to keep your eye on this issue that Earhart has identified. We've poured lots of money into the construction of broadband networks, but that does not mean that everyone can access affordable broadband. And the ACP right now, I'm understanding the Affordable Connectivity Program is scheduled to run out of funds in 2024. That's way too soon. We at the VCBB are very laser focused on getting networks built, but rural broadband, even subsidized by construction grants, is expensive. So we need all the help you can muster. And again, I do agree with Representative Sibilia that this is a colossal issue for the country. And I hope we can see that FCC member seated. The state has not been funding subsidies nor allocating resources to treating broadband as a subsidy program for low-income households. And I have to say that the current focus of the FCC and most grant funding is simply in the nature of outreach. And that's like saying we need to market it more often. But Earhart, you're correct that these programs are very difficult to access because of the digital nature of the application process itself. And for our small CUDs, it's also a burden to access those subsidies. They too have to have staffing for that purpose. So just to give you that picture, really appreciate you keeping that in mind and the separation between construction funding and actual subsidy for service. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. All right, Christine, your hand is up.
Yeah, I've got just 3 points to make. First of all, one of the concerns we have about the mapping process is how the FCC is treating it. I'll give you one example is that, we had we have a telecom company that committed to get fiber built to every address. And when one of the customers called in the towns, they asked, when it was going to be available, and they said 2028. But what's even worse is that it's the customer service person said they couldn't answer the question, and they got called by an attorney from the telecom company, and that so that's not acceptable. And the next thing I'll talk about is the actual way that the telecom companies present data. They talk about speeds up to 100 by 20 or up to 25 by 1. And, you don't go buy a gallon of milk expecting to get up to a gallon of milk. Or a gallon of gas getting up to a gallon of gas. So holding the telecom companies responsible for their performance rather than putting it on the consumer, which right now it's on the consumer to prove that they're not getting a gallon of milk, which is, and the process, requires a signed affidavit at the end saying that under penalty of perjury. So it's a very unfriendly process. And so we also are concerned about a break in the funding. The BEAD funding, we really have to keep construction moving. And if we lose those crews, it's hard to get it back. So, we can't afford any real delays in the BEAD funding to come out, which I know is a real pincher here because of the mapping process. And finally, we have a concern about EC Fiber's debt load. We're putting plans in place for existing CUDs, but we don't have any way to get them funding for the BEAD programs because it's centered around new construction. And we are concerned about EC Fiber. We'd like to figure out a way to help EC Fiber reduce its debt load so it can reduce the cost of entry.
Christine, if
it gets to the ability issue.
Just a follow-up question on that last issue. Is that because EC Fiber was one of the first CUDs that was kind of out the gate, and they financed a lot of their construction through debt.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep. Thanks. Those are my points.
Okay, thank you. Laura, do you still have your hand up, or is that a holdover? Hold on. Okay, any other questions, comments?
I just wanted to add one thing regarding legislative forecast for the 118th Congress. As I mentioned, the hope is that Commerce Committee gets working, holds hearings, and maybe even provides fixes for the ongoing mapping and reporting issues so that there's more accountability. I'll keep people, it's, as I said, since committees aren't fully in place yet and fully organized, it's tough to say about timing of all these issues, but I'll keep everyone updated as soon as I learn more. And then as many people know, I'm sure most on this call, if not all, are familiar, it's a Farm Bill year. So there will be some possible rural development, rural broadband opportunities within USDA to work forward that I look forward to hearing from you all about and how we can improve the program such as Reconnect.
Patty?
Okay. Laura, is your hand still up, or?
It is up again, yes.
Okay, go ahead, Laura.
So with mapping also, I just want to kind of point out the backwardness of the accountability in this system. And so the telecom providers who are receiving hundreds of millions and have received hundreds of millions of dollars in public taxpayer funds to build out their word, their propagation maps, those are accepted, and it is up to citizens, it is up to the taxpayers to prove that they don't have it. That's not a small fix. That needs to be flipped on its head. That's not okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Laura.
Completely agree with you, and hopefully we can find Congress can find a solution to the issue, that one that's able to pass and be implemented.
I'll just add also, I mean, to your reference earlier, even though it predated my being with the office, I'm well aware of our former state director's, David Weinstein's engagement in that issue. So thanks for bringing that up, Representative.
Okay, hearing if there's anybody else who has a question or comment they want to make, I'll just take a few seconds here to thank everybody that showed up today. We really appreciate your meeting with us. It'd be great, like I said, to get that email list so that we've got you all in one email, just make it super simple to communicate. And we look forward to this being a future conversation and not a one-time meet and greet. So you'll be hearing from them.
We're counting on it. Thanks.
Excellent.
Yes. Please
Yeah.
do not. I forward all of our emails to Christine and team, and so those should be getting sent out. And please do not hesitate to reach out, and let's continue to work on these issues and find some good Vermont forward solutions.
Exactly. Thank you. And Michelle, do you have your hand up?
I do. I just wanted to say that I'm really happy to be here and have a chance to have met you all. But unfortunately, I have a pre-existing commitment this afternoon, so I will not be able to attend the entire meeting. I'm going to stay as long as I can, but don't be surprised when I duck out. But please don't hesitate to reach out. I know on my list of things to do is to get in touch with some more of the folks involved in broadband, probably starting with the northwest corner, since that's where I live, and work my way across the state. So
Excellent.
thanks very much.
Thank you.
Before signing off, I'll say I will stick around for a while too, but got a number of other pre-existing commitments. So, but yeah, I'll just be lurking in the background just to kind of hear and learn more from you guys. Thanks.
Excellent. And so that you know, all of our meetings are recorded. So in the event that you want to listen in, you can go to the website and find the meeting transcript, the video for it. So you can always listen in if there's a specific item you would like to hear more about.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. That concludes item 3 on our agenda. Let's move to item 4, introduction to the NTIA Federal Program Officer. I have Clay Purvis with his name on it. Christine, do you want to tee this up?
Sure. Yeah, Clay we're pleased that Clay has accepted the job and is doing the job as our federal program officer, because Clay comes with a long history of telecom experience, and specifically here in Vermont. He's got a brief presentation for us, and then of course you can ask Clay questions. Clay, take it away.
Great, thank you for having me. It's nice to see all of you again. For those that don't know, I left my position as telecom director at the Department of Public Service last month, and I've started here at the National Telecommunications and Infrastructure Administration, or NTIA, as Vermont and New Hampshire's federal program officer. So I'll be working closely with Christine and her group to make sure that implementation of the federal broadband programs, specifically the BEAD program and the digital equity program, are successful in Vermont. I've come today with a quick presentation, one that I think will be a little probably too high level for this group, but I figured I would start at the beginning, and we can go from there into more detailed presentations and information in later meetings. But I thought it'd be a good way to introduce myself, and for anyone who is not familiar with the programs, that might be helpful. But please don't be offended if you know everything that I'll share with you today. I'd love to reconnect with all of you as well, pretty much everyone listening. When I left state government, my contact list went with it, and my attempts to save it were not successful. So if you all could email me if you want to reach out to me, I'd love to have your contact information. I see the chat is closed, so what I'll do is after this meeting, I will send Rob an email with all of my information, which he has already, and he can just take that email and forward it to the distribution list for your benefit. And I would just like to say, please feel free to call me at any point with questions. I'd like to reach out to you as well, so just keep the conversation going as we implement these programs. My job as a federal program officer, I think, is twofold. One is really kind of the grants management aspect. The VCBB, as the state broadband office, will be kind of the center point for receiving the federal funding and distributing that funding for both the BEAD and the DE programs. So we'll be working together on the planning process, just making sure that grant obligations are met, timelines are met, reporting requirements are met, that sort of thing, just kind of bread and butter grants management pieces. And then the second is more about the stakeholder outreach, making sure that folks across Vermont understand what it is we're trying to do and how it's being done. So that's how I describe my position. Whenever there's a problem, and there will be problems, there's always problems, I'm your liaison to the agency. So in the first instance, get in touch with me, and we'll take it from there. So with that, I'll just jump into the presentation, and please feel free to interrupt at any time with questions. I do want to preface the presentation by saying if you have questions that I can't answer, I'll get an answer for you. There's likely to be lots of questions that I don't have the answer to yet, just being in the job for 4 weeks. So with that, I will get it started here. Yes, I'll do that. Can I? Well, Everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So I'm here today to introduce to you Internet for All. This is the overarching effort that encompasses all of the Internet specific infrastructure items in the IIJA. A little bit about the NTIA before I get started. We are an executive branch agency. We're housed within the larger Department of Commerce, and we are separate from the Federal Communications Commission. We're separate from the USDA. These are other agencies that have broadband funding and have kind of a piece in the broadband solution. But this quote sums up what we're trying to do. We'll make sure every single American has access to high quality, affordable, high-speed internet. And when he says affordable, he means it. We're calling this Internet for All. It means absolutely everybody. The bipartisan infrastructure law is $1.2 billion. It's dedicated to several infrastructure-related efforts: clean water, high-speed internet, and a bevy of transportation initiatives, as well as clean energy infrastructure. So internet is just one piece of the overall infrastructure package. For internet, the bipartisan infrastructure law invests $65 billion to ensure everyone in America has access to high-speed internet. The NTIA is charged with $42.45 billion for the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. That's the infrastructure program. And then $2.75 billion for digital equity. Tribal Broadband Connectivity Program is $2 billion. And then the Middle Mile Broadband Infrastructure Program is $1 billion. Programs administered by other agencies, the ACP, which you're very familiar with, the USDA also has received broadband money, and then there's this private activity bonds initiative as well. Affordable, reliable, high-speed internet has remained elusive for too long. When we talk about the digital divide, we're talking about three things. It's the physical access, that is broadband available to your location. Affordability, can you afford it? For many Americans, even with the infrastructure outside your front window, it's just as unattainable because it's not affordable. And then adoption and digital literacy. Americans not wanting the service or think they can't make use of it or lack the skills to make use of it. The solution is going to require a range of internet tools and services. So there's the physical infrastructure, the device that you use to access the internet, access to the applications. It's hard to do a Word document without Microsoft Word, which is now by and large a licensed product. Access to digital literacy training, help when you need it, and measures to ensure online privacy and cybersecurity. So the NTI is administering $48 billion of the $65 billion. 42.45 is for BEAD, 2.75 is for digital equity. The tribal piece is 2, and Middle Mile is $1 billion. And as you know, you've already applied for a Middle Mile grant, and that's pending. So you're probably well aware of that program. But today, for the rest of the presentation, I'll focus on BEAD and digital equity. So here's a little bit about the BEAD program. All 50 states, all the territories are included. As you know, there's a small state minimum for 100 million, followed by additional money depending on the outcome of the broadband challenge and the final FCC map. It includes a planning phase. That's what you're in right now. Do want to congratulate the board and the staff at the VCBB for successfully getting through the grant application process for both the BEAD and DE planning grants. It's a big deal, and Vermont did it fairly well, and he did a good job. I think overall, having the 50-state perspective now, I can see that Vermont is in a really good position, and I think Christine has done a nice job getting you to where you need to be. You're ready to write your plans, and not every state is. So that's where we are right now. If you look at the timeline at the bottom, we're now squarely in the 5-year planning process. That timeline is ticking for both the BEAD and the DE. Talk about the DE on the next slide. So you're in the planning process, 270 days to do that. I'll be working with this team to make sure that that gets done, and that project is a success. And then once we do that, it's 4 years of implementation. You'll once your plan is approved, you'll move ahead and implement it. And that'll be what the majority of this project is going to be about. It's getting the money out the door to get broadband to people. And with the DE, a similar type timeline. You're in the 1 year, a whole year to do the DE plan, and you're in it. And then once that's completed and approved, you'll move to the implementation stage. As far as funding goes, there's 60 million was made available nationwide. Vermont's plan for, Vermont's funding for the statewide plan is just over 500,000. And there's 1.4 billion for state capacity grants. This is a formula funding for the state to implement and promote digital inclusion. And then there's additional money that is competitive. So the state will apply under a competitive grant program to receive that money and to further implement their plan. Examples of eligible uses, and I know you probably know this already, doing your digital equity plans, and then making awards to other entities to help make those plans happen, improving accessibility and inclusivity of public resources, implementing digital equity plans related or activities related to your digital equity plans, providing digital literacy and skills building programs, and other measures that would facilitate the adoption of a residential internet service. This is a page about tribal. You can take a look at. And then the Middle Mile Grant Program, again, I think you're fairly familiar with this. You've already applied, so the application was due 9/30. Rolling awards start around it's the beginning of March, and then you'll have a 5-year timeline to deploy it if Vermont is successful in the application process. There are many ways for stakeholders to get involved. Telecom providers, I do like this note here, telecom providers may include government-owned entities. I think that's good for Vermont. Tribal governments, community anchor institutions, local government, community organizations, and individuals. And I think Vermont's well-placed, again, looking at the 50-state perspective. Vermont's done an incredible amount of outreach. State's very well organized. The broadband office has the capacity to make sure that this is an inclusive and successful planning project. For additional information, you can email us or visit these websites. We'll be doing lots of webinars and events. They're always doing events, and the state broadband office here has been pretty good about participating in the state broadband leaders network. So a lot of information coming down from there. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to get in touch with me and or ask Christine and Rob, and we'll be happy to help. That I'll stop sharing my screen and open it up to questions.
Thank you very much, Clay. Any
No problem.
questions of Clay? Clay, is there anything that you can think of in the immediate future that we should be aware of and on our radar screen?
Well, I don't think there's anything immediately aware. I mean, I know mapping has been a longstanding issue and one that is coming to a head here this week. We're certainly monitoring that at the NTIA. I think as we get into the planning process, you know, we'll want to be in constant communication, and certainly with the staff, just to make sure that, you know, the plan is what you want and is following the BEAD and DE NOFO. So that is probably the top priority. You know, I would encourage you, if you have questions or identify any problems, you know, to get in touch with me, or get in touch with me through Christine, so we can work through them. I think the sooner, you know, the quicker we work through any issues, especially if there are conflicts between one of the notices of funding and what Vermont wants to do. I think that's really important to take care of. And I already have a laundry list started with Rob and Christine about the topics that they're interested in having clarity on. So we're just going to be working through those, but as they come up, let us know as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you very much. I see Holly has her hand up. Holly?
Clay, thanks for coming today. Congratulations on your new position. It's very exciting for all of us. And I'm just curious, as you look out, I know right now, all of the initiative, or most of the initiative, is focused on these planning processes for the states. But have you had direct applications for funding from either telco providers or others in the state of Vermont?
Well, so my purview is really BEAD and DE, and no. You know, the concept here is that the state's going to write the plan. The plan is approved and implements the plan with the funding provided by the NTIA. So
there just had been some, I thought there had been some out of BEAD and BE funding that might have been awarded.
I mean, there could have been through, well, there could have been applications, I think, through the Middle Mile project or the Middle Mile program. But I'm not aware of who's applied through that program. Perhaps USDA, which has, I think it's on its third or fourth round of funding now. So it's conceivable that there have been applications by Vermont providers to that program. But if you know of a specific instance or specific program that's managed by the NTIA, I'm happy to chase that down for you.
Appreciate that. And not that I'm competitive, but how do we look compared to New Hampshire?
Oh, I'm not going to answer that question. I will give you this though, Holly. When I started, several people have mentioned Vermont as being in a very good spot, and everyone really likes the staff in Vermont. I think capacity wise, Vermont's up to near the top as far as you have your office is fully staffed. You've got the 10-year telecom plan, which from the outside, I think is, again, compared to other states, it's something that that hasn't been done. So there's already kind of a lot of work that's already been done. And the staff at the VCBB is participating very much in the SBLN. That's where a lot of the information, a lot of the technical assistance is coming down. So I think compared to pretty much every state, Vermont it doesn't get much better. And I'm not trying to flatter you. I'm being honest here. So when you guys are fighting with each other and bickering about this or that, I mean, keep it in the back of your mind that this is about as good as it gets, right? You're in a good spot, and you should be proud of that, and also
Thanks.
encouraged by it. So
Thank you.
And I'll take, Clay, I'll just take this, I think confrontation is a good thing in the sense of moving the ball forward in a productive way. So we may have little bumps in the road, but I look at those as ways to propel us forward in a better direction.
oh yes, I know. I'm giving you all a hard time, but
That's okay.
yeah, I think, even in the granting process, there aren't specific award conditions that are holding up Vermont in the same way that a lot of other states are held up right now. So overall, Vermont's in a good position.
I see Erhard from Senator Sanders' office has his hand up. We generally don't open up to the general public for Q&A throughout agenda items on the board, but I'll allow it from the federal delegates if somebody has a specific question of Clay.
Well, thanks, Patty. I appreciate it. And yeah, don't mean to break in, but Clay, if you maybe could circulate that PowerPoint for someone who's still relatively new to the field. I noticed there's no chat, so normally it'd be great to get it posted through the chat, and also maybe share your new email address. Possibly, I don't know if this can happen through Christine, but it'd be really helpful, I know, to me and Katrina in our work. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I'm happy to do that. I'll give my contact to Rob to circulate to the group. I was going to put it in the chat, but it's as you said, it's locked. But when you do email me, this is a good time to point out that my email address is clpurvis@ntia.gov, and that L is very important. There's someone else at the agency named Katrina Purvis, who is our CIO, and for the first 2 weeks, a lot of my mail was going there. So she's very nice about it and was helpful in getting me my mail, but do remember the L because I won't get it otherwise.
Clay, say that email again.
Sure,
CL
it's clpurvis @ntia.gov.
Thanks.
Super.
But I'll send something with my email and phone number out, so
That'd be great.
so everyone has it.
Our contact list that way. Okay, any other questions of Clay? Excellent presentation, Clay.
Great, thank you. Nice seeing you all again. Take care.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item 5 on the agenda, which is VCBB staff review and evaluation. Christine, do you want to start us up, and then it's likely we'll move into executive session on this?
Yes, I've actually requested Patty to put this on the agenda. We have Stan Maisel has accepted a job with the Office of Finance and Regulation and Office of Financial Regulation. And Adam Bornstein has accepted a job as a CFO for a $42 billion green fund. So they're moving on for all the right reasons, and I've been talking with them throughout, in terms of their career decisions and helping them. But that said, I would love the board to go. First of all, we go into executive session with Rob and I and Stan present to share what our plans are to do to fill those, which is an executive session because we don't want to get ahead of the board in terms of those plans. And then we'd like you to excuse Rob and I from the meeting, and then so you could get some critical feedback from Stan, and then follow up with Adam, so that if there are, this is an opportunity to do an exit interview, and I really would welcome any feedback that they can provide to the board. I've already talked to them. Naturally, there's a little bit of a discomfort with this, but I just want them to be honest with you in terms, because this is an opportunity for us to do our job better.
All right, Holly.
I just wanted to say two things. First, that I really appreciate Christine's approach to this, having an opportunity for Stan to talk to the board, and that's very right-minded from my perspective. And secondly, to Stan, I just want to publicly acknowledge the vast amount of information you assimilated in a short amount of time, and the incredible effort you made to identify the constituents and their interests and understand the act and pull it all together. I know you'll look forward to going back to a financial focused in your law practice, but thanks for coming to spend time with us in telecom.
Thank you very much, Holly. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, well said. I'm excited for both Stan and Adam in the terms of you moving forward to bigger things outside the state of Vermont. But I can say this for the whole board, is that we're all sad to see you both go. And it will be nice just to have an opportunity to hear any thoughts of anything that we can improve on in executive session. Right, I'm going to make a motion. We move into executive session so we can speak of staffing decisions, as premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or a person involved at substantial disadvantage per VSA 1 VSA section 313A1. Is there a second to the motion?
Second, with the condition, Patty, that I haven't seen a link to a break to another room. So as long as we get that straightened out, then I'm good.
Christine, how will we facilitate this without you or Rob on the line?
You'll be notified. Rob, why don't you, Rob or Alyssa, speak up to the process?
Sure, you should, up in your top level bar when we open the meeting, you should see an invite to be assigned to the breakout room. Accept that invite. I believe some staff will be there to start, and then we will leave to allow for additional feedback.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
So your motion.
We have a second on the table. We have a second on the table to move to executive session. Is there any more discussion?
Yeah, your motion should identify who from staff you want to attend that.
Christine, I'm assuming it's you and Rob and Stan and Adam.
Yep, and that's, okay, great.
And then we will move in executive session to Stan individually and then Adam individually.
Great, thank you.
Any further discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, with that, we move into executive session.
I don't have a link.
Yeah, it's still saying opening, so. I think it says the room is open. How do we move towards the room?
It looks like some of the board members got pulled over.
Yeah, I'm not pulled over. Christine's not pulled over, but we're all assigned, so I don't know what is happening here. Let me look over the assigned participants as well and make sure, because you're unassigned. Where is? Everybody's assigned. Oh, great. Mm.
Yeah, that's weird, huh?
That is weird because we've done this before. Yeah, why are you listed as unassigned, Christine? Are you in?
I have
Can't
no idea.
assign, can't assign. Oh, we can go back and forth between the rooms because you're a co-organizer. I just
Okay,
don't know why we're not. Try
How do I
clicking
find
the,
the room?
try clicking the room button. Having,
Where is the room button?
Where meeting participants is. And it should be up top.
Meeting participants.
yeah, and I don't know why I'm not.
I'm considered the organizer and it says,
Make an announcement.
yeah, it's not letting me go. I don't know where I see nothing that indicates.
Wants you to join. Okay, we've been invited. Adam's inviting us. Adam got over there. I'm not sure why we weren't, but accept Adam's invite.
Yeah, except pain in the ass. It's coming in on my computer. Let me see if I can figure this out. Hang on.
I'm
Okay, I
here.
think I got it. Okay.
Oh, Christine, we're in the original room, right? I don't know how to get to the other room.
What's going on here?
You're still with the other group. You're still with us.
I'm still with the other group. Hang on, let me see if I can get out of this other group. I'm gonna close this.
So Christine, where am I going?
Oh, Rob?
Laura.
Oh God, hang on. We got a little
There's a
confused.
room invite for you, Laura. That
Rob, I'm
said.
at Laura has not got the invite and I'm in two rooms. I'm gonna exit the main.
Am I looking at my email, Alyssa, or whomever is still
No,
on?
you should just be, it's just a breakout group, so you should get pulled over.
Okay. Okay.
Rob's over there now, so he should be doing it.
Okay.
Laura, I'm trying to move you over. We keep inviting you, but it's, you know, it's not allowing you to accept it. So I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to do this manually. Are you getting any note that says, request to join?
Where would I be getting it? Like on my screen? I have,
Yeah,
the meeting is full screen on my computer, so. Not
because you
seeing
are
it.
assigned already to it. Realize that there's a problem, people using many different links. Let me try to fix this again. See if this sends you over when it goes through.
Join room, okay.
Join room, join that room, and hopefully I can figure out how to get back in. What? Hey, Stephen John, you're unmuted.
Thank you. I'm trying to change it.
Just so people are aware, the board is in executive session and will return momentarily.
No music.
Unless you're providing it.
Alexa, play Mamas and Papas on Pandora. Alexa, volume up.
Ray,
Spare
may
us of that. Spare us of mamas and papas.
It may
Let's not-
actually cause a problem when we put this on YouTube as well, if it catches
Yeah.
a copyrighted song.
Yeah, plus some of us
Ruin
are
our fun.
well, let's put it this way. Anyway, don't play anything.
You asked.
Enjoy the silence.
Finally, some peace.
Ray, my Alexa did start playing here, though.
Good.
Okay, we're back.
All right, are we all back? We have Laura? Okay, looks like we're all back.
Okay, excellent.
All right, let me get back to agenda. So we are on item 6 now of the agenda, consideration of legislative priorities.
Yeah, you may want to you should probably make a statement around what action or no action taken in executive commission.
All right, so
for the
it's at 2:37. We came out of executive session at 2:37. There was no action taken in executive session.
Okay, thanks. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so now we're going to move to agenda item 6, which is the board's consideration of legislative priorities.
Yeah, let me just say that we heard that, and this is kind of a confirmation. There are no surprises here. We have one legislative priority, and that's to support the governor's budget adjustment act of committing $30 million in capital to leverage another $67 million in capital, as well as to get the middle mile program, to fund the middle mile program, $116 million project. That's the only legislative priority we're discussing here, and I'm under the impression that the board already understands this because you've been involved with the middle mile program, and we understood that was a $30 million. We needed a $30 million commitment, match funds that were not federally obligated, and it really will be up to the legislature at this point to decide. And of course, we'll have some work to do with the legislature.
All right, so Christine, this is not any legislative proposed changes for the upcoming session. That's what I'm hearing. Correct?
No, we have no recommendations for
Okay.
changes in the upcoming session.
What
So
you're
that's really,
stating is that VCBB, your request is that VCBB support the governor's budget filing.
that's correct. And we've been moving forward with that assumption. We didn't actually get, this kind of gets to the next issue. We didn't even get the real budget numbers till the 3rd of January. So that this has been, we've been actively involved with the administration during the month of December to try to get all this in place. But yes, that's the only thing we're focusing on at this point.
All right. Are there any comments from the board? Laura, you have something?
Yeah. Christine, I'm sorry, is it BAA or budget?
It's the Budget Adjustment Act, right?
So then, I am wondering about putting out a statement from the board and VCBB in support of that, maybe jointly with VCUDA.
Yeah, I think that certainly makes sense. So we'll work with the administration to see, how we can be helpful.
I'm asking Laura, does that have a material effect someplace?
So with budgets, the governor proposes, the legislature.
Yeah.
So I think it's not, first of all, it shouldn't require a ton of effort. And second of all, it will not be unhelpful to put out a statement of support.
All right.
Okay. You're the master of the political world, so
Oh
lean
my
in on
God.
you.
I don't think it's quite that much.
We're leaning in on you.
Okay.
Any other comments?
So yeah, I'd love to just work with Christine, with you, just thinking about the most effective way to get that out. So.
Yep, be glad, we'll work with you,
Okay.
Laura. That's fine.
Thanks.
Sweet. Anything else on this item? All right, let's move to 7, annual report and report to legislature.
Yeah, so this report, we debated this as a staff. We could have gone through the report line by line, which at one point we were considering, and we decided we best to go through a presentation. Now, you're not going to find anything controversial in this report because, we already talked about the legislative priorities. What we're going to do is provide a summary of the activities for the past year. So we have a presentation about what's in the report. You certainly can, you have an opportunity over the next week to read the report and give us feedback. In this presentation, if you see something controversial, we can discuss it there and we'll change the language in the report. But I didn't expect the board to really get into wordsmithing the report. But if that's the will of the board, we can arrange the schedule to allow that to happen, which would mean, and I don't see any problem with having a 2-week delay and having a special meeting of the board to address that. But, this is the process we're in right now.
I think the last thing the board wants to do is wordsmith an annual report. However, I do really appreciate appropriate English structured sentences, spelling, all of those good things, please.
Yes, we appreciate too. We have Heron here, whose job is to give it. And Heron, I'm not throwing over the transom to you, so we'll work with you. But Heron's our expert on that, and she's the one that is agreeing. But remember, this is a draft report. We're providing it to you for feedback, but if board members called, if by the end of the week you say, look, this is really something we need to meet on, we'll do that. So this has been.
Patty, this is the one thing that I don't know if we're talking about. We haven't seen this report yet, right, Christine?
You have it now. You have links.
Well, it's the one that just came in. So as far as I'm concerned, we don't have it. So
right.
For this meeting. So the one thing I wanted to talk about on the agenda, which we'll get to, is about this idea that we promulgate a notion that we're making broadband affordable through public funding. There's a nuance to that statement that we need to be very careful about. And we'll go into that later if we get to that agenda item.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let's stay with the annual report, and I'm just going to tip my hat in terms of what I think that who should be doing the annual report and our role as the board. I think that the annual report is a staff level filing. That said, the first time that you file the annual report, it's just good that we know and structurally get what is going to be filed.
It's the second one.
With the legislature.
But it's the second time.
So is this dramatically different than the last time you filed?
Yes, well, it's dramatically different because the last one I filed, I wrote it was just Robin, I remember. And, I'm not sure how to answer this, but, consider the source. But it seemed to be fine last year. We filed it on time. But, now we've got a staff, we've got, the staff really built this together. And so the quality, the quality.
But more importantly, you have metrics to start reporting on. You have
Yes.
data.
Oh, yeah. That'll be in the presentation. It's called out in Act 71, what we report on. And that's what we're following.
Right. All right. I am happy to have that sent to us to review. And any feedback board members have, please send that to Christine to disseminate through staff. But this is yours to file.
Right. Yes, thank you. All right, so why don't we get started with the presentation? Let's see, Lucy, can you pull that up? So The staff will be presenting this. I'll present the first 7 slides, then we'll get into detail with Rob and folks. But this, this is the theme of what we'll be presenting to the board, the legislature. So this is our annual report. Next slide. So here's what the report, this is out of Act 71. Should include operating financial statement, cover the board's operations during the year, including the summary of all grant awards and contract and agreements. Description of progress.
Can everybody see a presentation? I am not seeing anything.
I see it, yeah.
Well, give me a minute. It might be a delay caused by your bandwidth, but tell me when you can see it.
Still don't see it.
Interesting.
There we go. Now I see it.
Okay. So, it's the Act 71 is clear, operating financial statement. Now, the interesting thing about the financial statement, and Tracy will get into this, there's a difference, and Will Anderson is here as well to explain that more. We're operating under 2 different financial statements, one for the board and one for the state. So, and the reason that exists, the state, they look at USF funds and others, but they don't necessarily look at, what I'm doing with the board is projecting what kind of funding we're going to get. The state doesn't include that funding in a budget until it actually comes in. But the board, my expectation, I think, from the board is, as executive director, I should be predicting how much funding is coming in, where we're going to spend it, rather than waiting. So that, the states work on a cash process and we're working on an accrual process. So Tracy will explain that more when we get to that. So there's the requirements. Any question on the requirements of the legislative mandate? So, we include a mission statement. We talk about, yes, next slide. That was good. Keep going, Lucy. So you'll see this in here. We talk about the mission statement, what the board consists of, staff consists of. Next slide. Then we present the staff and contract support. So this one is, you may have some feedback. You gave me some feedback in executive session, which I'll provide to the rest of staff later. But this is how the reporting goes. You see the dark blues are those that are on staff, and the light blues are what we're contracting for. So this is how our organization looks today. And you've already given me some feedback in executive session about some organizational changes, which I'll review with staff before we make those changes. Any questions on go back to that slide for a second, Lucy, sorry. Any questions on this organization chart? Which, if you could definitely provide me feedback with any concerns you have over email. Next slide. So we broke the report into really 3 things: capacity, construction, and performance. So we talk about building our capacity, which you heard Clay refer to. We think we're in relatively good shape capacity. We still have some work to do on our capacity, but I think overall, as you heard, we're in good place there. We're talking about construction and where the money's been spent or obligated at this point. And then performance and accountability is really how the board, it's really kind of a history of the board and how you've been involved in approving grants and the process of approving grants. Next slide. So this is, I think, where are we? What slide are we on, Lucy? This.
So this is we have the operating and financial statement, and then we have the overview of grants obligated, and then we'll pass it on to Rob after that.
Okay, thank you. So this table, the one thing to understand about this table is it doesn't tell the entire story. This is actually a requirement of how the Budget Adjustment Act works. So, it only shows we've spent a total of $21.1 million, but it doesn't tell the story about what's obligated. That's as of June 30th, 2022, which is really history for us. But this is a requirement that's part of the legislative report, is to state what was spent in the previous budget year. So that, I don't think that's necessarily relevant to the board, because it's so old, but it's a requirement. So with that, you can, I would suggest you don't need to spend much time on this part. Next one. So this is where I'll turn it over to Rob to talk about. This is really the crux of what the work we've done, right? This is the dashboard. And we'll be, we included links in the report to the dashboard. And that's where we provide the detail of the work we've done as of the calendar year. Now, it's interesting, we struggle with 3 or 4 different reporting years, but depending on what organization we're dealing with. The State Budget Adjustment Act looks at through June 30th of the previous year. That's what the legislature is looking at. But then we do forecasts for calendar year, and we do forecasts for fiscal year, and the administration even asked us for forecasts for 2024. But what I think is most important to our board is what have we obligated, what have we done? And that's where we're putting our focus in this report. Rob, I think you're picking it up here, talking about the grants we've obligated.
Yeah, sure. And I just want to say that the dashboard image that'll be in the report is showing everything to date. We felt it was good to give a running total of all the grants, of all the awards that are made from the beginning. Next slide. So we just made a chart showing pre-construction, showing what was available for each of the allotments, showing what's been awarded by the board, what was available. We also, for now, we have included the proposed amendments that we'll be addressing later at this meeting. On here, you will note that Southern Vermont has stated they will not be using all of their award. So that's been transferred to the new CUD because we didn't want to take anything away from other CUDs, a portion of it. And we're also holding in $200,000 for if additional towns join that CUD or for other uses. Next slide. So we also break it down in terms of what's from the traditional pre-construction capacity and what is coming from the material supplement. Once again, this will be simplified for the actual report. Will be the ones that are highlighted here are ones that the staff, as per the policy, made a decision and approved. Next slide. We're going to do the same thing for construction grant fund calculations. We did break it into approved universal service plans. So you'll see we have WCVT in there as well. And we do include the new Chittenden County CUD. And this shows the amount that was transferred for materials implementation and the remaining funds. Next. So then it's more of a summary of the various different awards. In addition, well, there's a summary of each of the grants, a write-up of them. And then we also talk about the $400,000 award we've given to NEK Broadband from what we're calling the Broadband Finance Program. This was to approach VITA and to leverage those funds for the USDA Reconnect program to buy down the interest rate. So next. And then we have to list the various contracts we were entered in and a description of those contracts. So, and then Lucy, you were going to go on from here, I believe.
Yes, so the last requirements of the legislative report, hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I am having bandwidth issues. The last requirements of the legislative report had to do with the communication union districts. So first it asks what progress each CUD has made towards long-term financial sustainability, not dependent upon public funding. And the real crux of this progress relies on the business plans that the CUDs have to submit in order to receive construction grant funding. So as you know, as the board plays an important role in this when the board makes a decision about awarding a construction grant or not. And so all CV Fiber, DV Fiber, Maple Broadband, NEK Broadband, and Southern Vermont CUD are the CUDs that have received construction grant funding so far, meaning that they have made it through staff review, stress testing, and extensive review from CTC, our independent engineering contractor, and also a board vote. And in the coming year, we'll be working with the remaining CUDs on this business plan as well. But Act 71 is quite clear that the business plan must demonstrate that the CUD is financially sustainable in the long run without expecting there to be public funding going into the future indefinitely. And then additionally, this year, as you know, VCBB hired the position of the broadband project developer. And that was also kind of looking creatively at long-term financial sustainability for the CUDs. We also were asked to report on VCBB's efforts to secure additional federal funds for broadband deployment. So there's kind of 3 areas here. Within the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, as Clay presented on earlier today, we have the BEAD planning grant and the digital equity planning grant, both of which will lead to the opportunity to receive more money through BEAD implementation and digital equity implementation. We have our proposal for middle mile that we've submitted, and then we have encouraged participation in applying for the Affordability Connect program outreach grant from other organizations throughout the state, but did not apply directly for VCBB. For additional ARPA money, we have our town ARPA match program, which has encouraged towns to put some of their money towards broadband. And then in other federal funds, we have the USDA Reconnect, which is the money that the Northeast Kingdom has been leveraging, and then our ongoing conversations with the Northern Borders Regional Commission. Then the final requirement of the report is progress towards meeting the state's goal of 100 megabit per second broadband service at every E911 location. And so in the report, we talk about the CUDs that are currently under construction and the universal service plan requirement, indicating that if they've received a construction grant, they have a plan to serve every E911 address in their district. Of the 6 CUDs that are currently under construction shown on the map, 5 of them are using the construction grant, with EC Fiber, of course, being the one that has been under construction prior to Act 71.
Can I interject at this point, Lucy? I just want to make a point, to the board that we're very careful with the language when we talk about serving address. We pulled the language right out of Act 71 that says we're serving the addresses that that are within the CUDs, as well as communities that are working with private telecom providers. So we pulled that language direct because I know that concern came up from the board earlier on, that if it's not a community falling within the Act 71 requirement, we don't necessarily focus on it. We focus on those that. So just to allay any concerns about that, we've been careful on that language. Go ahead.
Thank you, Christine. That's a helpful clarification, and thank you for that. And then the final slide is just showing, because the legislation asked for us to report on every E911 address, we included a look at the areas that are not part of communication union districts, including the Waitsfield Champlain towns that received the Act 71 construction grant, and looking at the gaps that are not served by communication union districts and what plans are in place in those areas. And that concludes the annual legislative report. There was, Christine, should I hand it right over to Stan for the other report, or?
Yeah, Stan, you may want to talk briefly about it, but the other report is kind of a, it's kind of a mechanical response, but there was just something was put in terms of how we handle Stan, why don't you explain it, because I may not say it legally correct.
You may recall we worked with the legislature to get a technical change in Act 71 last May, where we had the state removed when there was if a CUD were to materially default, the assets would not be required to go directly to the state because that raised some issues. But in doing so, the legislature asked for a report the same day as the annual report is due that summarizes all financing contracts or agreements entered into by CUDs on or after May 11th, the day that they enacted the legislation. So we just provided a short report that does that lists all of them, and it tells about how the VCBB reviews the business plans of the CUDs for viability, potential federal funding and alternative financing, and concludes by saying, based on the analysis we do, we don't believe that any publicly funded network assets are at risk of privatization due to financial insolvency or default at this point. So it's really a short and sweet report that refers a lot back to the annual report because so much of the information is already provided in the annual report.
I see Holly has a question.
I have two comments, two questions. So Stan, you said a lot of things there, and I don't disagree with anything you said, but it's not in this report.
It's a separate, it's not the annual report. It's
But you don't have it in writing?
I do have it in writing, and it was included in the email that was sent right before the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
And the second question goes to a slide that's about 2 or 3 from the end. It's that colorful picture of Vermont where there's towns that aren't part of a CUD, and it makes a statement about who's covering what. And then notice that the thing that stuck in my head was it says VTEL provides fiber to all addresses. And my question to you was, you know, we're having a big fight about what, with the FCC, about what incumbent carriers say is true. Are we promoting those statements by making that part of our annual report?
Well taken that it should be VTEL provides fiber to all addresses in their service area or in their
I don't know that
area,
that's, I don't even know that that's true.
I believe that that's true, that they were funded to do that.
But is that what it's asking? What were they funded to do, or what are they doing?
That is exactly, we exist because what people said they did versus what they were funded to do did not match up.
And I kind of say, do we need that slide, or do we need to say those things? I'm worried about, really what I'm worried about is what the VCBB promotes and therefore gains, shares credibility with statements that are made by carriers that we may or may not have actual feet on the street information for.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Same.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I don't think we need to say it, so let's not say it.
Not our job.
Yeah, we're going to take that out. So, good point. Great feedback. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
We don't want to endorse. That's really what I see you saying. That's an endorsement. And that's
Don't
not
connect the dots to say that we're fully served.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so that's, I hear that concern. That's good. That was the goal of this presentation. Certainly, read what we've done. It will fall in line with what you heard. But if you have any specific concerns, send them to me, and 90+% chance plus we're going to incorporate it. So that's what we've done with feedback in the past. So we aren't going to incorporate it. We'll certainly reach back out to you and have that discussion. But I actually don't see a
Christine,
problem.
is there anything else under item 7 in the 4 bullets that you need to address?
Nope, that's it. What you saw is
Okay, so
what you're going to get.
Let's check in now on affordability. Holly, this is
Okay.
your turn.
So, this is a little thing of mine. And I'm very interested in how we talk about affordability, in part because it's easy to do broad brushstrokes. When Clay was talking about NTIA, he talked about 3 buckets, and affordability was one bucket, and construction of network, and then there was the digital equity piece in terms of access and devices. And there was a presentation that you were kind enough to circulate, Christine, that had a slide. In fact, I wish I could just raise the slide. I put it in an email, but the slide, I have to bring it up in order to reference it possible. The slide basically said that, and this was shared, do you remember what it was? It was prepared on December 19th for a meeting on December 20th. There was 162 people that attended. And I'm gonna, I don't know how to
well, I think
show my board members this slide, but it basically said funding model, and there's basic premise you can't disagree with, that higher prices come from higher cost of borrowing, and lower retail prices can come from grants and creative financing. My problem with this generalization is that there's still a lot of need for affordability concern, a lot of need for subsidy. We sort of build, by putting language together like this, we sort of build an environment where it says, oh, affordability, we've got that. And yet we, as the VCBB, are not managing or monitoring the rates for their affordability. And that's not really what we're focused on in doing our grant funding. We can all agree it would cost more to provide service if there weren't grants.
Yeah, can we, we really do want to get to the Maple and Northwest pre-construction grant. So
I'm identifying this as an issue and a mindset. I've heard it spoken about 3 or 4 times now in public forums, and I just think it needs to be a lot more nuanced than that, because the cost of rural broadband is high.
Yeah, and so again, we have a danger of going down into a sinkhole here, but the point is, in order to have sustainable business plan, there has to be an average amount paid per customer, and that's running somewhere between $90 and $100 right now, which is high.
You know what, Christine? You don't need to explain this to me.
Yeah.
The fact is that it can't be explained in a nuanced enough way in these generalized slides to not create the impression that all we have to do is build these systems with grants and everybody's on.
Oh, I agree with your point. And I think
I just want to bring that point to your attention and ask you to avoid making that impression.
Yes, and I'll take that feedback and go through the legislative report, make sure it's more nuanced than that. I hear exactly what you're saying. It's there's the problem with this. The problem is we're right now we're trying to get as much grant funding as possible. So we got this theme going. Every 50 million we get reduced the cost by $10.
Stop that.
Well, I don't know whether we should stop that, considering the legislature some people in the legislature already think we have too much money. So
okay, so I can have this conversation with you offline unless the rest of the board wants to participate. But the fact of the matter is that correlation cannot be proved.
Folks,
I can prove it. I've got the spreadsheet. I'll show it to you. I'll walk you through it. I'll defend those numbers, but yes, you and I talk. That makes sense.
Guys, I have to tap out for 10 minutes. Dan, can you take over for the meeting running the agenda? Thank you.
Yeah, this is a good time to tap out. So Holly, my commitment to you is you and I will follow up.
That's great.
All right. Okay, so if we can move into the Maple Broadband and Northwest, these are, you know, from a staff perspective, these are kind of a C-spot run approvals, the pre-construction funding. Everything within them falls within what's been approved for pre-construction. These are the funds that are left in these both organizations. They're really to cover the costs of network design, make ready staff salaries, capacity. So I'll start with Maple Broadband. And if somebody from Maple Broadband wants to speak to this, be happy to turn it over to you.
Sure thing, Christine. I can speak to it.
Thank you,
Hi,
Lauren.
everyone. So I think you guys have all seen the submission in the board pack. And essentially, just as Christine says, what we want to do here is close out the remainder of our pre-construction allocation. And the primary use of these funds is going to be to pay for pre-construction design and staff salaries, administration. And we also had a slight increase in our insurance budget. But that's pretty much it. So I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Ellie,
Any
I have
questions?
one. Oops, go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Holly.
And Laura, I should have deferred to you. I'm sorry. Does your pre-construction funding include marketing costs?
Yes, that's in there as well. We had budgeted that the total, but so the current allocation total for marketing was $390,000 before, and it's still $390,000. We're not increasing that.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Laura?
Yes. Hi, thanks, Ellie. Staffing, are we adding any staffing, and what is the time frame?
Well, we've added me since the last time we had a pre-construction amendment, so that's the big thing. We want to make sure want to make sure that that I'm not continuing to volunteer. And yeah, we also have a stipend for our treasurer. So that's all that's planned at this point, but things may change.
Thank you.
That's the 472,000 that's increased.
Yep. And remember, this is not for 1 year. I promise you, I don't make that in 1 year. This is a multi-year budget.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? No.
So the motion is for the board to approve the increase on the pre-construction funds by $1.277 million, $1,277,883.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Holly?
Yes.
Okay. Abstentions or noes? Okay. Sorry, I'm scrolling back up to the agenda here.
Okay, now we're at Northwest Fiberworks. We're asking for increase of the amount of award by $616,790 and 69. That's a little different than the number they presented because we've already